What's up, everybody? Greg J. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. Good morning.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah. We're just getting back into the groove around here. Haven't talked to you in a minute. Trying to get my shot right. Let me sit down here. Been out the country, just been trying to travel around and see what we could see in these here Pan African streets, really beginning to examine what it would be like to return to Ghana. You remember in 2019, the nation reached out to the diaspora and began to say, hey, you know what? Africa wants her children to come home. And, we responded by the hundreds of thousands from all over the diaspora going in there 2019. Now, fast forward to 2022 and into 2023, it's beyond the return. What happens after that mass visitation by the diaspora to Ghana? If we are in America, generally speaking, Black people would be American descendants of slaves, I should say, would be DNA connected to the western coast of Africa. This is where, in the slavery days, they got our ancestors, and our ancestors were sold into slavery, captured into slavery, whatever the case may be, were brought out of the cities and villages and towns and civilizations and societies of Africa, Western Africa, and put on ships and brought over to America, the Caribbean, Brazil, South America, points of South America, a massive point of history in the Americas, where it comes down to the United States of America. Us folks here, if you're chocolate like me, somebody in your DNA survived the brutality of the slave dungeons or the slave castles, the ship ride over to the United States. And through slavery, through Jim Crow, through all of the difficulties that Black people, American descendants of slaves, have had up into present generation, somebody survived. So we decided that, we would say, hey, you know what is this about? What is it like to return to West Africa, to Ghana? So we've been gone for since the beginning of December. Just got back, as last week, just before the King holiday. It was a genuinely reflective experience. It was one where we didn't really do tourism as much as we did just everyday living. We attended, business conferences and gained information on what it would be like to actually repatriate to Ghana, since they are offering dual citizenship, since they are really assertive in asking the diaspora to come home. And I said in one of my coffee conversations with Greg J, I was talking about this notion of the diaspora, because it was becoming more and more frequent that I would attend these talks and gain this information. And pretty soon I would realize or feel like the speakers were not really talking to the American descendants of slaves, but more so those who were born in the continental African nations, gone abroad to get their education, achieve their careers and jobs, and have settled in America, in Canada, in the UK, and achieved measure of success, gained valuable, knowledge, technical knowledge in their various fields. And Ghana was actually speaking more to them, or Africa is speaking more to them, to come home and share their skills with the nations that are developing on the continent. However, on this trip, I learned that there are official designations of diaspora. So when we say diaspora, we have to look at it in two distinct ways. For those I just described, those are the continental diasporans. For us, American descendants of slaves, we are the historical diaspora. We were taken, or someone in our generations were taken from the continent and landed in this hemisphere on these shores through the institution of slavery. So after I heard that, I was, even more comforted, and the more that I look around the United States, and the more I think about it, I take even more seriously the mantra that we've always shared with you, which is build a bridge of music, arts, and culture between Africa and African Americans. Now, everybody's asking me, would I live there? I actually would. I could do it. I really liked the peacefulness of Ghana, being free of the stigma of being a black man. Everybody is chocolate black, in Ghana. And there is a sense of unity. There is a sense of, you know, the black person's place in this world. It's peaceful towards everybody. There are stark reminders of slavery. Someone said that returning to Ghana in the manner that we did is like a full circle where our ancestors were taken out of Western Africa. We've lived, here's our generation now, and then we go back to the origin of our people. And it is a liberating thought in that way. It is definitely a developing country. Um, but it's so peaceful, and I can't reinforce that enough. And really, this morning's reflection is on the mass shootings that happened in um, Monterey Park, and then even just there's been a lot of violence just in the week I've been back, and a lot of death. And it's so interesting. My condolences to the families of the victims. Uh, it shouldn't happen in this country, but it happens at a very alarming rate, right? Now, being in Ghana for as long as we were, and choosing to live among Ghanaians, and not in a hotel, just to have a place to stay. And what is it like to go to the corner grocery store, right? In Ghana, what is it like to go around and be in the rhythm of the city of Accra? And that's what we did. But you'd get up in the morning at the beginning of the sojourn, and look on my phone or my computer to see the news in America, what's happening back home, right? And after a couple of days, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like, man, from the outside looking in, America looks like this really insane, violent, off the chain, immoral place. It really, really does. Just looking at the headlines, not listening to any rhetoric or what maybe some folks would say, propaganda, none of that. Just observation. Had to completely cut myself off from American news and really focus on where I was. I began to every day watch African news and everything. And true indeed, the African continent has its own problems. You know, uh, these are world systems, no question. But there was a peace about the environment that I was in. I didn't see the rampant homelessness. I didn't see the mentally ill and drug crazed wandering the streets, screaming at the air, or even attacking people. I didn't see that. And there was a peace to that. So after being immersed in that peace for more than a month and a half, we've been gone. Then I come home, and within the week, a friend of mine passed away. There were shootings after shootings and disturbances and situations and circumstances. This murder, mayhem, chaos in this country, and it levels a amount of stress on my soul that I think had kind of evaporated during my time in Ghana. Um, is Ghana perfect? No, no, not perfect. But I'm just giving you the intrinsic reflections of the time. Um, there's going to be so much more in coming conversations. There's so much content to share with you. We are organizing a trip. We'd love for you to travel with us to come to Ghana to participate in the Pan African Panafest, Pan African Arts and Culture Festival. All right. And so that takes place in July. So you can go to Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com, and get your information there. We're going to be announcing some information sessions, and you can come through, get your information there on how to travel. Let's travel in a group and just go through Ghana and experience some of the rich tourism that they have there, while exploring what the opportunities are there for the diaspora, African Americans. I do believe there's a great opportunity for us to nation build with countries in Western Africa. If you're a business development, there's some solid opportunities. You just have to be studied about how to impact, like business wise, over there. Someone was asking me about the economy in Ghana on one of my posts while I was over there, and I will share. As we go down this road together, understand that it is a developing country. It is, there are parts where you're going to see, okay, they still have a little ways to go. However, at the same time, it's going to be very enriching that you could bring your set of skills, your training, and all of that, to bear uh, in a way that could be fruitful for you and your family. There's just opportunities over there. The economy was a little strained while we were there. We arrived amid an economic crisis. Uh, let's talk about that for a minute. So, a lot of national money markets are tied to the performance of the U.S. dollar. You know that. You know the almighty dollar right now. They're fighting to keep. They're saying the yuan, that's the Chinese currency, is going to be the predominant one in the world soon. And I guess that's on invisible places. That's where the United States is fighting, right? Trying to keep the dollar stable. But as you know, inflation has been kicking our butts in the United States. Well, that has a ripple effect to other countries. Ghana is included. Let's just look at this in 2019, the year of return, right? The Ghanaian cedi, CEDI, was rated as the top performing world currency against the US dollar, enjoying healthy economy, boosted by the hundreds of millions, if not billions, that were infused through tourism dollars during the year of return. In 2022, they reduced the cedi down to junk status. It was the worst performing foreign currency against the US dollar. This amid high inflation rates here in the United States. All of our prices were going through the roof. Well, in Ghana, same. All the prices were going through the roof. And I think this is probably caused by the fact that Ghana does not export a lot. It has a ton of natural resources and everything, but for some reason, the nation just doesn't do a lot of exporting. As an example, the rice and grain to make bread and all of that was coming in from the Ukraine, but because of the war, Ukraine versus Russia, the prices of these staples has gone sky high. And, it's easy to ask the question, well, why are they importing it when they have it right there? Well, that's a whole nother coffee conversation that we can talk about because the situation is deep, and it does go back to systemic oppression when it comes down to Africa. Okay, when we can talk about that a little later. But as prices were going high in the United States, prices were going high in Ghana. When we arrived, it was 16 cedis to a dollar, and which, to our dollars really was in our favor, right? But look at the everyday man or woman in Ghana. This is causing quite a strain on the daily pocketbook. The price of groceries sky high, the price of gas sky high, just really, really crazy. The government of Ghana had to go to the IMF, and there's a lot of debate on whether they should have done that. They achieved a very large loan again from the IMF to bail them out. And we watched the SETI begin to stabilize and go all the way down. When we left the country, it was 10 SETIs to a dollar, a little better. Hopefully, people were seeing a big change. Plus, Ghana in December is a big tourism season for the nation. And so hopefully, folks came in droves to Ghana. They did. We saw them. And hopefully that helps the economy. The taxes were incredibly high. You would see, as much as 20% in taxes on your bill at the restaurants. It was, you could see Ghana was going through it. A lot of change needs to happen in Ghana, a lot of reform and all of that. From a cultural standpoint, is rich, man. It was very, very rich. Ghana in December is a tourism and cultural thing. I will make a comment. The talk of the city of Accra, every radio station, every talk show host was Meek Mill, the rapper. So Meek Mill goes over to Ghana, and understand there's Afrochella is happening, Afro Nation Festival is happening, huge parties, huge events, huge club events. It's just like Chance the Rapper's over there with his festival that brought Dave Chappelle and Erica Badu and many, many others, right? It's a time of high profile for Black arts culture. Meek Mill comes over. He gets into a scuffle out in front of, I think he was out in front of one of the festivals, and his phone was supposedly stolen. And during the scuffle, um, the police found the phone and returned it to him, and then he got an audience um, with the president of Ghana, President Ado. Um, because Meek Mill, I guess, befriended or had become friends with the president's daughter, who insisted that her dad take a meeting with Meek Mill. You can go online and see, the content of that sit down meeting. He Meek Mill shared how he had been in jail and shared that he um, committed some, pretty heinous crimes before turning his life around and being successful in the rap game and raising, a lot of money through his foundation, and describe what he does, to help the youth in his area, wherever he is from. Right. And it was an interesting exchange between the president. Then he goes on and he gets permission to film a music video inside of, the presidential palace. They call it the Jubilee House. This is right after the meeting and everything. Well, where he went wrong, first of all, is I'm trying to measure my words just because I really don't believe in censorship, but I will just say that his song, I mean, he's rapping all over their seat of government. And there's like no real respect for the sanctity of their office. And then the stuff that he's rapping about is really adverse to the morality of the nation. And it was just bad. So, radio talk show hosts were all over it. It's been in the headlines and everything, but in Ghana, people were really incensed with Meek Mill's raps, with his access. They were saying we can't go over to the White House in Washington, D.C. and just film a music video and talk about anything that we want to talk about. So the same type of security should be happening, in the Jubilee House. Meek Mill totally disrespected their seat of government, and the Ghanaians were angry. And I think there's going to be a backlash to that. I think they're starting to change even their perspective of blacks in the West. Hope we can, it, you know, from my purview, it just was not a good representation of Black America in Ghana. Maybe he meant well, but no, it was not a good look. It was just not a good look. And so they were pissed. My Uber driver was on one behind it. He said, "This should be a security zone. You cannot go in the White House and just walk around and talk about anything and rap at." They were pissed is the word. And so we have to be a little more sensitive, I think, that when we go and we interact with our brothers and sisters, if the young people are going over there, there's a different morality in Ghana, and I think that needs to be respected. And what we think is okay in America, freedom of speech, is not so okay in Ghana. It's very much a church nation, to be honest with you, and also 20% Muslim. And so yeah, there is a measure of morality that goes with moving about in Ghana. Now, on the other hand, there are a lot of people who are saying they want us there. They want us there. They want us to come and contribute and come home and contribute. And I'm going to walk down that road and try to really spend my days representing positivity, representing peace, representing love. I just believe in unifying our diaspora. We are all more alike than we are different. And we have overthrown the chains of slavery, overthrown the chains of Jim Crow. We are free. We've seen a lot of progress in America. The same in Africa. They have overthrown the weight of colonial oppression, and now is time to rise up. Um, we know that the world's economies are dependent upon the minerals and the natural resources that are in Africa in general, certainly in West Africa. How do we help empower the diaspora to have more control over those resources? How can we leverage our Africanness to um, produce more, to join in the world market in a more stronger and tangible way? After all, the raw resources are coming from the motherland. These are the things that are all about how do we build a stronger global society together, um, instead of being oppressed all the time, poor all the time, d- hated all the time. Why can't we overcome that when all of the world's you know needed natural resources are in the soil, uh, in the motherland? And how do we, now that we have our education, more of us are educated now more than ever, how do we take our skills? We've been in these jobs, we've been in these careers, we've achieved high levels of skills. How do we now turn those skills back into our communities on a global basis and make a difference in the world? It's about peace and love. It's not about hate and violence and people walking into dance halls and shooting and killing, walking on these streets. You can't even go to the movie theater or a gathering, in these United States. I mean, when will we lift ourselves up and build? We need to build our culture, build our societies. And because of the internet, because of technology, our plate, our table that we sit at is global in nature. You can have a conversation in a business relationship with someone 20,000 miles away. Relationships, business, commerce, it's there for us to get. All right, y'all. I just wanted to get on this my first coffee conversation since we've been back. It was a month and a half over there. I'm gonna share a lot of different videos and content that we experienced while we were in Ghana. Shout out to Brother Jerry Johnson, who has the African Ancestry Wall. For those of you in Long Beach that watch Coffee Conversations with Greg J, this brother, not born and raised in Long Beach, but spent a lot of time in Long Beach and was part of the Long Beach study group headed over by Brother Femi and Sister Max, Village Treasures, right? He left, he said, about 18 years ago, and he has a bed and breakfast in New Ninkwa, Ghana. Um, he has a wall that it has contains paintings of, freedom fighters from all over the world, America, South America, Africa, people who have really, from ancient times into modern times, people who have really made a difference in terms uh, of struggle, right? Struggle fighters, freedom fighters. These are who they are. Brother Jerry Johnson coming out of the Long Beach Study Group and establishing a pretty awesome facility in New Ninkwa, Ghana. Hopefully, you guys can go and visit them. All right, yeah, we came home. We were trying to produce the City of Inglewood's MLK Festival, and we got rained out. And so, look, we're still having King Fest on February 18th. That's going to be on Market Street. It'll be a Black History Month celebration because we do want to still celebrate in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And now that it's Black History Month in February, we want to continue to lift up Black history in America. Also, beachcityradio.com, Columbus on Coffee Company, along with Dream Creator Studio, we are having a the Voices of the Diaspora, a art show. I'm going to do that at the Loiter Gallery in downtown Long Beach. We're going to be making our artist announcements all during this week. We're going to take over 3 days of, art, very beautiful art by some of Southern California's top African American artists. We'll also have music. We'll also have the celebration of excellence, celebrating excellence. That is a we're going to bring that back. We haven't done it since the COVID, pandemic, but this is where we recognize various people around the Long Beach community who have demonstrated a legacy of culture building, excellence uh, among our people, among our communities here in the beautiful city of Long Beach and beyond. The focus this time is Black family legacies. And so you'll be hearing a lot more about that in the coming days. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. Hey, doing the best that we can these days, and we're hoping that you continue to walk in peace. Keep your eyes open. It's a troubling time right now, dangerous time. The struggle continues, but always to God be the glory. That's what our friend Molly Bell says. We always say also, love one another. Love one another. Love one another. Yeah. Peace and blessings.